Mic test, mic test. A very good afternoon, right, ladies and gentlemen, guests and staff and officials. Thank you for coming on time. As transport policymakers and professionals, we always start on time, right? So, so it's 2 p.m. and let's sit down, relax, okay? If you need to go to the washroom, just go ahead, turn to the left. And I hope you are well settled down. Lunch is good, yes? Right, weather is good too. So we do not want to delay further because I know some of you have shopping plans. Right, so in your table, just remain comfortable. Handphone on the silent mode, please. Right, and we're going to start this session on the 3 sub-region programs. Later, actually, we would have some movement because we want to let CARET sit together. For GMS will sit together and SASAC will sit together. All right, last table is maybe for external parties, IFIs, consultants. For now, the speakers are already here, so I'll get this ball rolling, okay? But just curious, a show of hands. Yesterday, who came for my session on session 2? Only one. We have some speakers, very shy. Okay. Oh, so we need to do some homework. Right. Okay, no problem. My name is Max. I'm the moderator for this session, right, on the regional cooperation and integration across CARET, GMS, and SASAC, right? So the speakers are already here, and now I would like to kickstart this session by welcoming the delegates over here, and also for the speakers, Ari, right, Masato-san, Unuru, right, Angel, right, please proceed to the stage and take your seat. And for the people in this room who are from the CARET countries? Okay, we have quorum. Who are the people from GMS? GMS already seated in one table, huh? Right, how about SASAC? Oh, I love you guys, you are so coordinated. Okay, so I think more or less, it's quite clear. We can actually have SASAC in this table, GMS over there, right, make CARET over here, okay, and we leave this table for everyone else, right? Masa-san, good afternoon. Yes, we just kickstart. Oh, okay. Anytime you are free, right? Just join us. So now, I think the session today, we want to focus on the RCIs. You'll have a chance to listen to all the speakers. But to set the stage, right, and introduce some background in case you miss the fantastic session yesterday, right? So IT team, please flash the first stack, right? Now, this session is very special. You came to the right place because I think it's the first time we're trying to have an integrated approach, right? Trying to break through the barriers between sub-regions, right? In the past, you always do, okay, CARET, you always talk about CARET. SASAC, you talk about SASAC, yeah? But now we are trying to break through the sub-regional barriers, whether it's institutional or infrastructure. And that's why these are experts, ADB staff here today to present to you. Now, just to highlight some of the trade dynamics between the 3 sub-regions. So as you can see over here, based on the total import and export, right? GMS, okay, is very high, right? And then followed by SASAC and CARET, okay, in terms of total imports and exports. So that gives you some baseline. And the thing about the inter-sub-regional trade is, as you can see from the screen here, right? If you look at the amount of intra-regional trade, that means the trade between the economies in the sub-program, compared to the trade flows across the different, the 3 sub-regions, you can find that, oh gosh, the sub-regional trade flows are relatively small compared to the intra-sub-regional programs, right? And these are due to different reasons. These are due to physical impediments, the infrastructure, right? Missing links, we soft aspect like digitalization, trade facilitation, and so on, right? So the purpose of our session here is to try to integrate, right, through our various existing and new RCI initiatives, right? And for this session, we also want your feedback because your response is whether we are doing well, we are progressing, right? And what are the key issues are very important. For those of you who have Events Air, actually you can put the questions over there, but during the open Q&A, you can also just go to the mic and let us know, all right? We would love to have your feedback so that we can kind of appraise. Now, this is overall corridors, taking the insights from the 6 CARIT corridors, right? 3 from GMS, 6 from SASAC that was recently revised, right? Some of the key corridors over here, and of course you can see many move in the north-south direction, east-west direction, right? And here there are important land links. There are also important maritime trade corridors, right? Impact of oil prices. Later, maybe you can also, in the breakout session, you can also highlight what are the issues facing the region now, right? But as we can see, the oil prices have soared a lot, all right? And now the Straits of Hormuz remain closed. So in our very quick assessment actually was that CARIT is likely to have a little bit buffer, right? For the reason that they have access to cheaper source of oil, all right? And some of the countries like Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan are energy-rich country in a way. GMS face high cost of production, right? So this inflation-induced factor will actually drive up the cost of industrial production and manufacturing. And SASAC is likely to be hit, right, more adversely because they are basically completely importing energy supplies from overseas, substantially from the Strait of Hormuz as well. India is trying to play a nation that buffers the impact with other SASAC economies as well. So this is a very quick run-through on this RCIs, right, and what's happening across the 3 sub-region programs. And now turning the attention to the next part, right, which are the different speakers over here. We have the experts, right? Principal transport specialists from the 3 sub-programs. And they are covering in the order of, not importance, but alphabetical order, right? CARIT, and then GMS, and then SASAC, right? So I just quickly introduce the speakers on the stage here, right? Representing CARIT, right? First, we have Ari, right? Principal transport specialist who's based in Beijing, rich experience in the CARIT economies, and yes. Thank you. Right, yes. Ari will try harder later, right? Yeah. So Ari will provide his insights because in CARIT there are actually many new initiatives, and am I right that Turkey is or has already joined actually as a 12th member, right? Submitted. Okay, so it's pending, it's happening. It will be, right? So you see, CARIT welcoming, right, the 12th member. A lot of initiatives are going on, and later Ari will give you a run-through, right? And of course, with Ari is Unujaga, or Unuru, we call her, from Mongolia, right? Transport specialist. We need more gender balance. That's why you see our panel is very balanced. Right, yeah. In fact, I know Unuru for like 20 years, you know. Some of you are probably younger. Right, so a long-time friend, and she's done a lot of marvelous work in ADB, right, working on the CARIT region, now based in Manila. So moving on to GMS, Masato-san, right, Principal Transport Specialist, right, covering GMS region, and later he will share with you the insights. Because GMS, actually, there are certain things in ADB, right, in-house things, like for those of you in CARIT, you know Corridor Performance Measurement and Monitoring, CPMM. Actually, that was taken, ideated from GMS and with Uniscap, right? You know the time, cost, distance graph, yeah? So actually, ADB, we tried to have this knowledge sharing, and GMS was actually the founding, in fact, it's the first sub-region program that was founded, right, 1992. Yeah, so Masato-san will later give his insights on what's happening in GMS, what are some of the new initiatives, right, especially like cross-border transport agreement, CBTAs, which is quite successful in GMS, but somewhat moving a bit slow in Carrot. So Masato-san will share the secrets. And we have Angel Chong, representing SASAC, right? I think, Angel, you are the only engineer trained in this panel. Yes, okay. So, technical, hard stuff, right? All the complicated technical specifications, very precise. Okay, in SASAC, there's a huge demand for infrastructure, right? And transport connectivity. And so Angel will share her insights later on what's happening in SASAC, right? New developments again. And once the three speakers have finished, we open the floor to the Q&A. 10 minutes, maybe we'll take 2 or 3 questions, right? During that point, please introduce yourself and then whether this question is directed to all the speakers or to specific sub-programs. And then we would have the second half, which is the exciting one. The speakers will go to the respective sub-programs, right? And you will have 25 minutes. Appoint a team leader. The team leader would help to get the discussion going, and at the end, 2-minute time to summarize and highlight what are the key things in response to 2 questions. We will flesh it out later, right? So before we kickstart by inviting Ari to talk about Carrot, any burning questions over here? Everything is okay? Everyone's seated nice, right? Okay, good. So if, with your permission, right, let's welcome Ari again. Unuru. Oh, okay. Ari and Unuru, teamwork. It's teamwork, all right. On Carrot programs. Yes. Ari, Unuru, please.
Can you please show the presentation on the screen? Yeah, thank you. Okay, once again, good afternoon, everyone. So very nice to see a full house today. So I noticed from the stage that a lot of people still remain, standing there. So that there are a few seats in the front. So please feel free to fill up that. So I'm here today just to give you this correct program in terms of transport sector operations, and then what are the key and the new initiatives that will be presented by my colleague Ari later on. So since in this room, there are different, the sub-regional programs being represented, and we're about to show how this, the regions being integrated in terms of regional cooperation index. What does it mean is that, how these regions or the countries are integrated in terms of doing trade, in terms of doing, investments in between. So the higher score means that they are more integrated. In that case, the South Asia region is more integrated than the lowest highlighted in red is a CAREC region. So CAREC is like a diverse, region, and it's showing that it's least, integrated compared to the other, the sub-regions. So this is actually the CAREC. So we developed this, the CAREC, the transport corridors, and so far we identified 6 main corridors, and then all distinguished by different colors. So as you can see, it covers from East Asia, including Mongolia, towards, as Max highlighted, that Turkey might become a member very soon. So it means like from East Asia towards the West, almost Central Europe. So this is actually, in terms of geographical location, is a huge, the territory, and whereas that requires a lot of investment. So as you can see in this, the red light, so red, the line, it's actually CAREC Corridor 2, and which coincides with the, as you know, like middle corridor, pretty much. So the cargo along the CAREC corridor tend to be increasing over the years due to this, geopolitical tensions in the region, in the north, and as well as recently in the south. So it shows like, and it's a great, it creates a lot of challenge. Same times, opens up and more opportunity to do, the trade and the transport within the region. So as you can see, the program itself was actually established or just started working within 5 key Central Asia countries back in 2001. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the CAREC program, and then this will take a place in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, where I'm from. So I'm so happy to present that one. And so as you can see, over the last 25 years, around 53 the $7 billion worth of investment has been made in the region. So of which it's not only from ADB, so because the program itself being supported by the different multilateral institutions, including World Bank, Islamic Development Bank, EBRD, and others. So as you can see, but ADB is one of the key players in that sense, covering, invested around 35% of the total investment. So in terms of sector aggregation, as you can see, the transport, we invested around $37 billion of worth of investment in transport sector, and also other sectors are like the investment tend to increasing. So it's greatly contributed for the improving the transport connectivity for as such, but we noticed that there are still a lot of rooms or the challenges remains in the region. So as Max mentioned, there is the CAREC program, corridor performance measurement monitoring, exercise that has been applied across measuring how efficient and how fast this cargo being transported along these different corridors. So this exercise has actually initiated back in 2009, and we developed annual and the quarterly reports ever since then. So it actually shows that the very first one is we segregated data with road and rail, of course, the investment and the importance varies. So from the very first part, you can see speed with delay, speed without delay. So those kind of 2 indicators, as you can see, if there is no delay, the first chart shows that by road it's around 40 kilometers per hour along average across the CAREC corridors. And whereas speed with delay, so which means including some other activities like crossing the border, so that already reduces speed by 10 kilometer per hour as such. So that actually creates and shows that there is a greater challenge or the bottleneck at the border crossing times as well. And so for also the railways, so as you can see, the greater difference and also overall tendency is that this speed tend to be decreasing recently. So since there are huge difference in between around 10 kilometers, so we just narrowed down into what are the key causes and how much time is being spent to cross the border. So as you can see, the time to cross the border tends to be increasing. It's supposed to be decreasing, right? So less, if we tend to spend more time to cross the border, and that also attributes with this, the geopolitical tensions in the north and the south as well. But that means that there's a greater room for improvement in that area. So as you can see from this, specifically when we talk about Corridor 2, because we have different segregated data focused on each corridor as well, but as an example, as of Corridor 2, the corridor time to take crossing the border in 2022 and 2023 is tremendously increased, and it tend to be decreasing, but there are we have to work a lot in that area. So overall, what are the key bottlenecks to, bottlenecks is like crossing the border is 3 key areas, as you already know, right? The physical constraints, like limited or inadequate, insufficient infrastructure facilities or inspection equipments, that also lead to this, the greater loss. And also the institutional constraints within the country and beyond the border, working with the neighboring countries, that also this institutional constraint really to make this delay And also another thing is that given that the current development, this digitalization constraints are within, if we apply digitalization into the process, we could have saved much more time in a sense, and then we have have to address this one together. So as you can be, based on that, we already noted from the previous CPMM reports that we already invested, also not only ADB, but also the government itself have been invested in improving the border crossing points in the past. Some of them clearly, shows quite an increase of crossing the time, let's say. Maximum here is up to 35 hours of reduction when all those 3 areas being addressed. So this means if we invest or we address those existing constraints, so there are a lot of rooms to improve and a lot of rooms to make these countries connected and reduce the time cost is spent for traveling or crossing the border. So based on that, on the CAREC program, as I mentioned, there are different sectors being looked at, and one of them is the transport sector. And then currently there is a CAREC transport strategy up to 2030, which was prepared before 2020 back in the day. And the last year, with the involvement of the CAREC member countries, ADB and together with CAREC Secretariat conducted the midterm review of this strategy itself. And then based on the very intense consultation with the governments and the other development partners, the strategy midterm review recommended 4-point actions to look going towards. So one of them is the strengthening the border crossing point and the efficiency of the corridor, and of course the promoting modal diversification in the smart mobility aspect as a second recommendation. And also as we invest in this transport sector, but more importantly we have to also focus on the scaling of green and resilient and inclusive digitalized transport sector. It remains as a core priority. And of course, the last, as I mentioned, is deepening institutional collaboration and the planning in the future. So I'll stop here and hand it over to my colleague. Okay.
Thank you, Nuru. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Ari, and Max, I now have new 10 minutes, right, for my part. Thank you. And also on the record, Max, I'm also engineer. Just to put on the record. So this midterm review, which was led by Nishimura-san, who just sits there in the back, so had these 4 key recommendations. And I would like to, before I kind of move to the solution which we are, or new approach which we are thinking of or preparing, let me point out the last one, the CAREC Institute, because it's a little bit unique institution or unique entity compared to SASEC or GMS, for example. So CAREC Institute is based in Urumqi, People's Republic of China, and it has this mission to enhance the quality and effectiveness of the CAREC program. One of the flagship product is, as Nuru mentioned, is this performance and measurement and monitoring report, which they are publishing annually, and everything is available on the website. So it's very useful source of data for us to design the activities further. It conducts strategic research and delivers capacity building, promotes sharing of good practices, and also is very heavily involved in facilitating policy dialogue and dissemination. One more thing from the previous slide, this number 2, Smart Mobility Working Group, the establishment, the inauguration meeting is actually going on in this building at the moment. So we are also proceeding on that front at the moment. So CAREC Institute, please check it out from the web. Lots of very interesting, useful information. So after Nuru presented where we are at the moment, and situation is not super good, and it's unfortunately trend seems to be worsening. So based on this midterm review strategy recommendation, we started to prepare of the new kind of approach, let's say this way. I'm working on this now, and it's kind of, we call it build. It's nice acronym on border upgrades for integration, logistics and development. And it's a new kind of approach. Why it's new? Because ADB doesn't have this kind of facility, or there was a similar one in Pacific for energy sector, where we have a lot of small projects in converting the energy consumption to solar panels. So this is little bit has similar features, but of course there are also some differences. So we are now first focusing on the CAREC region only. So it's a new financing facility which is expected to be approved next month. This keeps me a little bit busy at the moment. We are finalizing the paperwork, and there are three main keys which I would like three key things which I would like to highlight here is that it will address both infrastructure and soft side needs. And very importantly, we would like to promote joint border crossing points which do not exist in CAREC region at the moment. You have double inspections on both sides of the border, etc. And it builds capacity, of course. So we are, ADB is, through this facility, once approved, we are pledging $400 million for these improvements in CAREC region, and it covers, it's a 10 years program or facility. We are also looking for co-financing. I will come back to this a little bit later. And as you can see, we have a good storylines to say that indeed these improvements will definitely reduce cost and time. And this will also benefit both countries in both East and West, because the East-West direction is the most prominent one in terms of transit cargo. We have already secured a 1.25 million grant for preparing this facility, and the first project is under preparation between Azerbaijan and Georgia. It's led by UNURU. So I have three key messages. So if you are from any CAREC country, please approach us and propose candidate projects. We are now collecting the long list and short list of the candidate projects. If you are from the financing side, we are looking for partners to work us together. Not so much to fill the financing gap, because we think this 400 million is adequate at the moment for the first 10 years to start with. But we want to have partners to a little bit soften the deal of our financing terms, because most of these countries are middle income countries or high income countries. So that's one reason, but also it's a great opportunity to promote new things, digitalization, and we want to use this co-financing also as an incentive to do this to do these things. So, and also because we are having this long-term commitment of 10 years, it shows to both of two DMCs, but also to our partners that we are serious with this, and there is a kind of ADB stamp in terms of safeguards and everything. So we consider ourselves as an honest broker here to gather around on this platform. Many benefits there for the co-financiers, and we are really looking at this East-West connectivity now, because if you look at the map and think about what's going on in this world, so this middle corridor is or CAREC corridor 2 is becoming extremely important, and the border crossing points are the bottlenecks now. We have invested a lot to these corridors, but those benefits are more or less lost now at the borders. Finally, this is the timeline. So we have already passed these first steps. So the next one is the approval. Fingers crossed. Keep your thumbs up, and then we are already preparing the first project. So this will be, and the CAREC, we have a lot of annual meetings, working groups. So CAREC will be used as a platform to exchange information, exchange experiences, and raise the financing with our partners. So we think that this is a good approach to make these things better. So we have a nice platform coming up. Please join us, and let's work together on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ari and UNURU, for the very comprehensive presentation on CAREC. You notice a lot of border improvement, because out of the member countries, only PRC and Pakistan have direct port linkages with the international maritime trade. Of course, there are inland water ports. So It's also interesting, I think Turkey's entry will also create a need, right, for this corridor 2 and the connectivity linkages in terms of maritime, right? So speaking of which, the next one, right, Masato-san, representing GMS, is a country where there are land links and also coastal, maritime, and the maritime linkages. So let's hear from Masato-san on what we can learn from GMS and the latest development.
Thank you very much, Max. Yeah, I will briefly introduce the evolution of transport sector cooperation in Greater Mekong Sub-region, GMS. As Max also mentioned, GMS is the oldest sub-regional framework with the support from ADB. But I think, GMS is the oldest, but still one of the prominent sub-regional program. GMS sub-regional program, we can see a lot more to come. So I want to introduce the kind of historical evolution of transport sector as a basis of our discussion to way forward. Sorry. Yeah, so GMS Greater Mekong Sub-region program was established in 1992. And then the GMS program is composed of 6 countries, Cambodia, China, Laos, PDR, Vietnam, Thailand, and Myanmar. And then when GMS was established, GMS countries faced a severe infrastructure deficit, such as many roads were unpaved, and then the cross-border links were limited, and also transport systems were fragmented after decades of conflict or isolation. So initial focus of transport sector cooperation was relatively straightforward. So countries invested in a lot, developing more like domestic-oriented infrastructures, such as main highway, more like located near cities of each countries. However, at the same time, the transport improvement became recognized as central to fostering trade, tourism, and regional integration within GMS. So the foundation for further regional cooperation was formulated during this period. Yeah, and then in 2000s and then 2010s, the approach of GMS changed more strategic and then cross-border oriented. So GMS countries identified a priority traffic route and delegated them as GMS economic corridors. GMS economic corridor has 3 flagship corridors. One north-south corridor from a southern part of China to Thailand. And then another one is east-west corridor from Vietnam, pass through Laos, and then to the Sea of Myanmar. And also the other one is southern corridor. Also start from Vietnam, but pass through Cambodia, Thailand, and then to Myanmar. So these flagship corridors linked production centers, ports, and then boosted trade and the regional value chain. And then also the transport investments expanded beyond road infrastructure, such as port, airports, logistics, and then urban transit. Also, another important milestone is cross-border trade facilitation agreement. It's called a CBTA. So countries started to discuss to simplify the customs and transport cross-border procedures. However, I later mentioned, but the progress is a little bit slow. But this is a very important agreement among GMS countries. And then after 2020, the external environment has changed. For example, global supply chains started to be disrupted by a lot of conflicts as well as COVID-19 pandemic. Also, climate change has getting more and more severe. So the GMS Transport Sector Corporation focus has been also shifting. One important part is GMS countries focus more on balanced multimodal transport. So not only road. Before, or in fact, road infrastructure occupied a large portion of investment. But now the share of road infrastructure investment has been drastically reduced. And then also started to invest more on railway, port, aviation, and then also, as some of you might join the first day plenary discussion, Cambodia State Minister mentioned the development of inland waterway. So countries discussed more multimodal transport development. And also digitalization and sustainable technology, like a green technology, central to modernizing GMS transport infrastructure. So ADB continue to support GMS countries as financier and convener to enhance efficiency and resiliency of transport infrastructure. Yeah, and then similar to CAREC, GMS also has long-term strategy 2030. And then last year, GMS countries conducted a mid-term review and update of this long-term strategy. So basically, there are some changes, but vision, long-term vision retains, like a seamless, efficient, reliable, and sustainable GMS transport system for regional cooperation. This is a vision. And then the key findings of midterm review as follows. But basically, hard infrastructure development, we can see a lot of progress. And then also the transport mode, also not only road, but also we can see the development of railway, port, and the logistics facilities. And the financing amount is also around $51 billion in project. Not only ADB, of course, including government as well as other development partners' contribution. And then countries started to discuss cross-border transport facilitation agreement, early harvest MOU. So basically, instead of pursuing full-spec CBTA, a country decided to focus on the narrowed scale of cross-border transport facilitation, including pilot trial runs. So this shows the updated strategy for GMS sector up to 2030. So here what is important is, one is of course multimodal. And the second is not only hardware, but also software, including system as well as transport facilitation, road safety, and green. Yeah, so conclusion, yeah, as I explained, we can see from 1992 to 2026 the evolution of transport sector cooperation under GMS. So originally, focus was more on basic connectivity, especially more domestic transport infrastructure oriented. And then GMS countries started to develop economic corridor to enhance connectivity, but more on road transportation. And then now GMS countries more emphasize integrated, resilient, and sustainable systems, not only hard, but also soft. This evolution, of course, reflects the regional progress as well as the change in external environment. So looking ahead, the challenge is move to fully integrated transport and logistics systems. Yeah. Especially today, we would like to listen how GMS countries to evolve this sub-regional framework beyond GMS sub-region. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Masato-san. That was an informative update on the progress in GMS. And GMS is also, and SASAC, they are actually working out a trilateral corridor from India, Myanmar, Thailand. So let's welcome the next speaker, Angel, right, to update us on the progress and developments in SASAC. Angel, please.
Well, thank you, Max. And yes, you actually took my line that, yes, seeing the trade difference between different sub-regions or regions, yes, I think Myanmar really opens up the doors for the inter-region trade a lot. So good afternoon to everyone. I'm Angels. I'm from the transport department working on a field of the SASAC project. So here I will also especially say hello to our SASAC country audience here. I see a lot of you guys. I've been seeing them quite often discussing on SASAC programs, SASAC corridor facilitation. So welcome you here. I'm also particularly happy actually to see islands or Pacific Islands people here because, you know, one day we might have another regional cooperation soon by, you know, our lesson learned shared in here. So thank you very much to be here. So in the next 10 minutes, we'll just share with you the current status and our special features and what is our plan in the SASAC corridor, how we transit from a single transport corridor to multimodal trade corridors throughout our establishment. So SASAC is at least a decade younger than the GMS. We started in 2001 with 4 founding countries, the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, and Nepal. Then in 2014, we have Maldives and Sri Lanka joining us. And 2017, Myanmar also become our 7th member. So a few number to anchors the scale of the program. So we have 99 regional project, which worth 26 billion implemented to date. So we have 5 defined trade corridors with 3 transport mode, which is including road, rail, and inland waterway. 2 milestones are particularly important for what we will cover today. The first is the 2019 operational plan, which first introduced the SASAC corridor as a transport corridors. And then follow with the 2023 revisions, which upgraded to the multi-trade corridor. And last year, we also have the SASAC Strategics 2035 that give us a long-term framework, which take us to the next. So ADB serves as a secretariat of the SASAC, coordinate across 3 different groups, working groups covering the transport, trade facilitations, and energy. The pipelines of the project is managed through a rolling 3 years action plans for the SASAC initiative, updated annually with our working group and senior officials meetings. Beyond the project financing, the Secretariat also provides knowledge base that underpins our decisions and bring me to the next slides here. So we have do a lot of knowledge work that helps the regions to plan what is next. So for example, we have data analytics and in logistic movement across the sub-regions, which give us the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, which we call BBIN, multi-vehicle agreements on the studies, on the fees, harmonizations, vehicle assurance, to give us a baseline for the 2035 result framework. So the SASAC corridor is designed around a clear development logic as to interlink the landlocked countries, Nepal and Bhutan, to the gateway port, while integrating the national economic corridors into a single multimodal spine that connects to the Southeast Asia through Myanmar. So we have 5 defined corridors, which the first one is the Nepal-Bhutan to India corridor, which obviously facilitate our 2 landlocked countries to the gateway ports in India. The next one is the Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, back to India, Myanmar corridors, which integrate the national economic corridors of Sri Lanka's, India's east coast, the Bangladesh northeast, into one single modal spine connecting to the Myanmar. The next 2 is the Nepal, India, Bangladesh, and the Bhutan, India, Bangladesh corridor, which supporting bilateral trade and access to the Bangladesh gateway port. The last one is the one from Nepal and Bhutan, connecting to India and Myanmar, linking us to Bangladesh, and then to access to ASEAN country through Myanmar. So what makes SASAC corridor distinctive is that they are trade corridor. It's just not a transport corridor. So here you see a map that connects all our SASAC countries here. You know, from Nepal, Bhutan, all the way down to the India, very complex multimodal network, into Bangladesh, and onwards through Myanmar towards ASEAN. We also have a subset of diagram here shows the full extent of the Sri Lanka corridors as well. So we developed the SASAC strategies in 2035 for transport through the consultations with our country's members, officials in 2024. So we are based on 4 pillars. So the first one is to operationalize the corridor at their desired performance level. This means we want to ensure the infrastructure that we develop, we built, to be a fully functional, well-maintained, and upgrade to meet the current and future demand. The second one is to promote sustainable of the transport network. I think similar to GMS and Correct, we promote the shift to a more green modes of transportations. So decarbonization of a single mode operation to a more low emissions transport vehicles, AI optimized routing, and also sustainable energy in our trade facilitations infrastructures. The third one is to improve the logistic efficiency, safety, and sustainability. We focus on multimodal linkage gateway development, no matter it is a port, airports, or inland container port, to be access to a full supply chain. So digital tools, harmonization of the standards, and interagency coordination is essential of this pillar. The fourth one is to graduate these corridors to be a highly facilitated trade corridors. So this one is a very ambitious objective. We are targeting to be a seamless, time-bound trade flow through a fully connected infrastructures. So running across the fourth pillar, there are three course-cutting themes that reflect where the global needs and the regional context is pushing us. Of course, climate resilience and disaster resilience, we have been hearing a lot throughout all our program these 4 days. So we have to ensure these infrastructure that we built, we develop, are withstanding earthquake, floods, and extreme weather. Digitalization is one of the key that we move ahead to moving us from, of course, manual paper-based process to a data-driven, automatic ones. Last but not least, in our region, we really encourage on private sector participations. So SASAC government has been the major financer of all our infrastructure projects. But looking at the scales and the development that we need, we do need to open the doors to private capitals for PPP to invest in our trade facilitations, operations, and all the system that is supporting the network. Well, let me just quickly close my sections. So I want to emphasize that SASAC corridor has been shifted from just a transport corridor to a multimodal trade corridors, which complement trade facilitations, economic corridor development. So we see roads as an output, but the income and the economic benefits as an outcome to the country. Secondly, we built our network based on evidence-based approach. So, for example, what I mentioned about the BBIN, the motor vehicle agreement studies, has been a foundation of what we are developing now between the 4 countries, and then we are moving ahead on that one. Last but not least is how to work on the soft side. So we built the infrastructures, but government's coordinations, as I think is one of the major things that we have to work on, is how to fully implement, harmonize the procedures in our trade facilitations. That's what leads to our graduations, as I say, to a fully functional trade corridor. So connectivity without facilitation is just a line on the map. So ADB will help on a lot of infrastructure projects, but without our government counterparts and interagency coordinations, these will not make into a fully functional trade corridors. So let me stop here and give it back to Max, and thank you very much.
Very big thank you to Angel. You actually summarized very neatly the 3 points. So that Masa-san and I think you already summarized the whole for the closing remarks. Very good points. I see people nodding, right, in agreement. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have listened to the 3 sub-region programs. And now it's actually what you are waiting for. Since you have very good lunch and very good stay, please give us the questions, right, open to the floor. If you would like to speak, right, please go to the microphone, introduce yourself, from where you are from, and also if your question is directed to any particular speaker or is it a generic one, open to all, right? So could we have the first speaker? Yes, please.
My name is Ran, and I from International Road Transport Union, IRU. So I have a question. It's like this. So all of you have shared very impressive sharing of all of this regional connectivity, this program. And I think if we look beyond, so when we're talking about, I think Max also mentioned this yesterday, how to like this sub-regional connectivity with each other. So that means if we look beyond, so what do you think about this, all of these international rules or international tools for the trade facilitation or the transport facilitation? What would be the roles for this international tool when we're talking about this sub-regional connectivity and how to collaborate with this regional, how to be beyond the regional and to do the collaboration with each other? Because in my sector, in my industry, our road transport industry, we have several UN conventions like the TIR Convention, ADR Convention, and also the CMR Convention. And I think maybe this question, because I sit in the GMS table, so this question may be to the Mr. Masato. So what would be your insights or your point of view? What would be the role of this like the TIR convention in this sub-regional connectivities, and what the feasibility like to integrate this international tools or international standards with this regional standard or regional tools? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that's a very good question. And then thank you very much to specify, GMS. I'm happy to respond. Yeah, actually, the sub-regional connectivity is very important. As I mentioned, one important factor is to follow international standard. So, for example, this is more like a trade facilitation, but when we discuss trade facilitation, we try to follow like a WTO trade facilitation agreement or WCO's Kyoto Revised Convention. Similarly, like a transport facilitation, as briefly I mentioned, CBTA, cross-border transport facilitation. But GMS country has their own standard, but should be close to the standard from other sub-region, so that promote more inter-sub-regional connectivity. So, of course, at the same time, it is important to enhance hardware, hard infrastructure. For example, now, GMS more focus on railway or road, but to consider further connectivity enhancement, maritime is also a very important tool to link to other sub-region. So GMS need to discuss more about soft and hard side to consider future connectivity with other sub-region. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Masato-san. Right, thanks for the question from the RIU representative. And I don't know if we want to hear from anyone else on this part, road transit and the conventions. Anyone else? Okay. Yeah. Okay, Carrot, of course, because it's the heavy user of TIR and CMR. Yeah. Unuru.
Yeah, thank you. Just to complement, like not only focused on CAREC, so it often that international standards are very important, because just like Masato mentioned this, that if each country follows the same standard, it's much easier to link them together. So currently, unfortunately, each country has its own system, which is not aligned with the neighboring country or the trading partners. So that actually creates a lot of challenge, and all of the sub-regional sectors, identified as institutional impediments, right? And so with that, again, part of this investment contributions from the development partners, we prepare, the knowledge papers, sharing best experience from the other countries to just to inform, how it's possible with aligning the standards. So one of the example is the TIR, but unfortunately TIR cannot be used for all the, the transport roads because it's mainly for the transit, right? The transit items. So whereas the region, I mean, the trade and transport within and beyond the region are not only transit, but also doing trade bilaterally. So in that sense, there are some, the existing, these frameworks have some advantages, and also at the same time they have some, challenges as well. So with that, this part of the region is, of course, aiming or targeting to the common standards, and whereas trying to solve the tailor-made solutions that fit to the specific country needs. That's also part of our, focus when we were working in that. So again, one last point is we're not only looking at transport, even though we are from representing the transport sector office of the ADB, we also just greatly looking at the greater integration, regional cooperation, and aligning transport aspect with the trade facilitation. Without the trade, transport doesn't mean, doesn't last. So, which means the soft aspects, this institutional framework, digitalization, all those aspects will need to be, enhanced. And then existing paper-based documents like the TIR is still using this paper-based. So again, one more agenda is to have to, digitalize that one, whereas we can smoothly exchange those informations in advance, just to check, whether it's, whether further inspection or the procedures needed. So, thank you.
Thank you, Unuru. So maybe I can just wrap up. Actually, I think it's the political will, because road transit is kind of difficult. You have a lot of protection, cabotage rules, right? So if you don't have the political will to harmonize the standards, and many of times it's intentional. So, like for example, if you cross through 5 countries, you realize that you have to stop every time there's a weighbridge. A lot of the weighbridge standards are not even harmonized. So I think in terms of border crossing points, in terms of the road transit systems, and if you want to move digitalization, a lot of countries are not on ETRR because of the hardware specifications, very expensive now for many countries to follow. So I guess that's where maybe ADB can come in, right? And especially when we talk about multimodal corridor that links landlocked to maritime trade. So thank you again. And could we have the second questions before? Yes, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Roy Momo from the transport sector, Papua New Guinea. Very encouraging to hear from the SASAC presentation considering Pacific Island countries. As of last year, we have a cross-land border MOU and standard operating procedures between Jayapura, that's in Indonesia, and Vanimo, our northernmost province, capital in Papua New Guinea. At this stage, we're not part of any of these 3 groupings, but from your experiences, and since Ari knows us better also, any comments how we can fit in and learn from the experiences? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Roy. Yeah, I have been working a little bit with Papua New Guinea, and I'm aware of this. I have visited the border, the land border. I think it's the only border with land border with PNG, with Indonesia. So this is, let's say, this is a very good first step. You know, we are still, we were when I was working in PNG projects. So this is a MOU, right? So it's kind of a memorandum of understanding. You have common targets, but there are many things. I think my colleagues here can confirm that once we have reached this level, even this level where we are now with CAREX, a lot of things have happened. CAREC has been around 25 years, and so you need some time. But my only advice would be that just keep on the momentum going and have a working group so that you can really discuss the burning issues, which certainly you have. It all burns down to the common understanding and agreement with your neighbors, and after that things can be sorted out, and there is partners available who could help you on that, including ADB. So that's what I only can say here. Do you, from a SASAC GMS point of view, you have anything to
Yeah, thank you very much. Ali covered a lot, so not much to say. But yeah, of course, one thing is strong, the express or intention from country is important. And then also, even within like a GMS or SASEC, we still facilitate a lot of bilateral initiatives under sub-regional framework. So bilateral initiative is actually a very good starting point, and then ADB is also willing to support. Sometimes it's good for both countries to have some, middleman like ADB to facilitate discussion. So yeah, this bilateral agreement is, I think, a very, very good start for further cooperation. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have the third and the final question, all right? Okay, please. After which we will proceed to the breakout for the discussion.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Zeke. I'm from CTI Group. So we're a consulting firm. I'm operating in Southeast Asia. So my question is in relation to, for example, as we all know, the Philippines is currently the chair of the ASEAN. So, and I know that the ADB president was also present in the meetings. So, just out of curiosity, is ADB also planning to support, for example, the BIMP IAGA or the East Asian Growth Area in consideration of some of the priorities in this year's theme of the ASEAN Summit? So in consideration of connecting these mostly, I think, a little bit neglected section of Asia in comparison to, let's say, CAREC, SASEC, and GMS. So just thoughts from ADB or anyone from the panel. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, actually, as you mentioned, our existing 3 sub-regional program do not necessarily cover all Asia and the Pacific, but ADB is willing to support beyond this sub-regional cooperation framework. In fact, especially for like ASEAN. This time, actually, a couple of weeks ago, I joined the ASEAN Air Transport Working Group meeting. But actually, as far as I know, that is the first time for ADB to join ASEAN Air Transport Working Group meeting. However, ASEAN countries very welcomed ADB's involvement in ASEAN more. So I'm sure with ADB we'll have more and more opportunity to support cross-border connectivity beyond these 3 existing sub-regional programs. Yeah, thank you.
I remember in 2013, actually ADB supported BIMP EAGA, and there were a few trips and staff who went down to the countries trying to do some monitoring on the supply chain, especially crossing the Indonesia, Brunei. There's so many land border crossing points. So there were actually support. It's one of the pillars in the GMS, right? But maybe your question is whether it can be intensified, all right, or expanded. Yeah, right. Thank you for the question. Excellent. And one thing, GMS, we are also moving towards more integration with ASEAN. So it's not only the Indo-China part, right? Yeah, right. So thank you again. I think the speakers deserve a big round of applause, right? Yeah. So now we have the breakout session, and because we have such an overwhelming response, right? We may have to shorten the time for the breakouts, right? For the audience, you can sit where you are, but note that the facilitators, right, will go to the respective table based on what I see here is that for CARET, right, Ari and Unuru will go to the CARET table over there, and for Masato-san, right, GMS is already over here, right, and of course Angel, okay, for Angel, SASEC, I believe you can come to this table, right. So if you like, you can stay in the same table, right. But if you want to speak to the experts for your region, then please note that they are tabled here. Okay, for the Pacific, you can remain here, right? You're really well aligned. Yeah, we will come to you, right? And Masa-san will be checking every table to make sure that you have your contribution. Okay. Please, appoint the group, the team leader, all right, or the table lead, okay? And you have 2 minutes to present after this. Now you can see the 2 questions that we are very interested to hear from you. How can RCI initiatives, right, be further strengthened to enhance connectivity? Like just now, our friend from Philippines, your question is somewhat related to this. And the second one is, what are the learning points and lessons, right? Especially our friend from the Pacific, you already asked something like this. You know, what are the lessons transferable from CARET, GMS, and SASAC, right? When we have maybe next time, another new sub-region programs. So please put your answers, and maybe, I see you are very bright looking. Maybe you just need 10 minutes so that we have more time to listen to you, right? So maybe 10 minutes, and then we would reconvene. You can speak from the table, starting with CARET, GMS, and then SASAC, and Pacific, all right? So with that, speakers, thank you very much again. Please proceed to your respective table. And for the audience, you can choose to stay or you can choose to remain, all right? CARET over there, GMS, and SASAC, Pacific. Testing, testing. Okay, we have only 3 tables. Sorry, yeah, I saw that still a lot of very active discussion, right? But in the interest of time, maybe just decide on your wrap, okay? And let us know, right? Maybe concise in 2 minutes about the feedback from these 2 questions. We can go in the order of CARET first. Actually, I should say CARET merged with the Pacific Islands, right? And then GMS and then SASAC. So for the respective speakers, right, you can stay in your table, but we may need your advice as well, right, in response to some of the feedback. And Masa-san, myself, we also add in if necessary, right, if it comes across cross-cutting issue, right? I already heard there are some cross-regional cutting issues, right? So please, maybe we go to table 1 first on CARET, right? And let me give the mic. Okay, who is the brave person? Yeah.
All right, thank you, Max, for promoting me to become the next leader for CAREC. Let me thank all of you. We have been an observer members sitting here trying to learn from the experiences of CAREC and GMS and SASAC. But one thing that is common that we want to learn from CAREC experience and on this table that discussing is looking at how we can utilize the existing APEC relationship apart from the 3 countries that are not APEC member countries, and utilize the existing platform on APEC economies and utilize that. And also, I think a question was raised by our Filipino counterpart about ASEAN as well. So for those ASEAN member countries, some of us in the Pacific are also joining the ASEAN member countries as well, the small island states. We can utilize that platform to try and reach out to those agreements. And I know that the fundamental basis of having a regional cooperation is on the trade agreements between bilateral and multilateral cooperation. So we will have to look at getting the governments to fully cooperate as well in different agencies of government who are working around. Way we can able to enhance the current initiatives and further strengthen states already being existent. And using the our case on question 2, we made a perfect example of question 2, the lessons learned from the 3 other sub-regions, SASAC and GMS and CAREC, can be applied in the Pacific case. But the main issue is that we are a small island states. We live in the islands, not necessarily a big landmass like the Asia. So how do we actually downscale it to our level? Like my 2 brothers from Fiji, who are here as well, and us from PNG, and even Timor-Leste, and Vanuatu, Solomon Islands. So we can try and work around something that is workable for us and continue to strengthen our trade, not only using transport as a connectivity, using transport as a trade route. So we can also promote cooperation amongst ourselves in our transport network. So that is something that I just want to contribute on this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Masa-san, do you have anything to add? Okay, okay. So GMS, one thing to take note, Mr. Farouk from Tajikistan actually mentioned one point about CPTA, which between Tajikistan and Kyrgyz Republic was stopped since 2013. So maybe GMS, your turn, and love to hear from you.
It seems he just decided.
Yeah, thank you so much. So thank you so much. I just want to share what we are just discussion about our GMS, that we also just would like to mention about the issue right now is mean like the implementation of GMS. Big issue is mean like the system, digital system, because each country, 6 countries also have their own system. So it's difficult for the international vehicle to enter to one country, and then you have to inform the document or maybe vehicle or information of driver, but the system is not the same. You have to take time to explain, this is a good from which country, this is a document for driver. So we see like this is a big problem for us. And one thing, this is a big problem about road network. Some routes is quite far, yeah, and the condition of road also is challenging in my country. I think that the other country also the same. Yeah, we have just only 2 points to share with you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right now, Sasek, please.
For the SASIC region, 2 of the countries are landlocked, Bhutan and Nepal. And for accessing the transit through the sea, we have to go through India. And India is a big country, and in our opinion, I think India has to take a bigger role to facilitate this transit to either Bangladesh or to its own ports in Calcutta or Chittagong. Then the other issue is last mile connectivity strengthened. And the third point we have is policy regulation on cross-border should be strengthened. Thank you.
Thank you. Very relevant. It applies to across the 3 sub-regions, right? Thank you. So now we have listened to the 3 groups, very valuable feedback. Some of the issues, there are no overnight solutions, right? But ADB, we have heard from your feedback. And in closing this part, right, maybe I'll just summarize certain things, and then Masa-san can wrap up to make a conclusion, right? Based on this, there are definitely learning points over the 25 years since the founding of GMS, CARET, and SASAC. There are a lot of initiatives by ADB, right? And our role, we can facilitate and kickstart. Sometimes the implementation is difficult, right? As feedback from the table, there are certain, I think, local or regional issues and differences in the standards or in the laws. So that part, we still very much rely on the policymakers for the regional cooperation and integration. Second thing is, in terms of financing, that's where ADB is strong. But at the end, it's actually important to make the biggest bang for the buck, right? Sometimes maybe the design, the solutions are not the optimal. Okay, so for example, let's say when Pacific, you join in, there's a new sub-program. One of the important thing at the beginning is designing where are the sea corridors for your case, right? But not forgetting the last mile. Like our friend from SASAC, actually, the last mile is more expensive on a per unit basis, right, compared to the sea lane. So yours is actually more or less a sea lane, but the last mile connectivity as well. And if the design of the corridor is not correct, then it will also affect the overall performance in regional integration, right? So just to answer one last part is that some of you asked about this across the 3 sub-programs. So Masa-san and our team, actually we are working on this supply chain integration across the 3 sub-regions, trying to see how we can bring all this closer together, right? And more effective, more efficient transportation. So it's something new, we are working on this, and you're likely to hear more results as we move along, all right? So let me pass the time to Masa-san for the final concluding remarks, and then we can close the session. Masa-san, please.
Thank you very much. We already passed the time, but I could feel that you experienced in your tables that there are similarities and also differences, even in the sub-region. So that's why we have to have close collaboration in sub-region. And as Max mentioned, we are trying to have more of the Pan-Asian discussions, connecting those different sub-regions, and also maybe Pacific too. So in ADB, maybe you heard the parallel session yesterday, that it has been the DNA of ADB for enhanced regional cooperation. And 2024, we conducted a policy review for our strategy 2030 and made the RCI as one of the 5 focus areas. And then this year, in the annual meeting, the main topic was the connectivity. And we announced the connectivity in power grid and also digital highway. And we conducted a seminar for transport connectivity. And we are planning to make it more mainstreamed in the next year's annual meeting. And we started discussions towards economic corridor development. So from the transport corridors, trade corridors, and then economic corridors. So it's not only transport, but multi-sectoral economic stimulus across those sub-regions. That's what we are aiming for. And transport, of course, is the most important part. So I hope you enjoyed the session. I had to go back and forth, but I felt this room was the most heated, although the temperature was most cold. So I hope you enjoy the rest of the Transport Forum too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. San, for the concluding remarks, and thank you to all the audience. Right. So tomorrow there's still event going on, and please come and attend the sessions. Otherwise, have a lovely afternoon and a wonderful evening. This is Max signing out. Thank you. Master San and the speakers, there is a photograph taking session for the speakers and the Master San. So it's coming. Yeah. Could you just, 1 minute on the stage? Yes, speakers.
You are the part of the panel if I see it correctly.
It's coming. Is it okay? Is it okay? Yeah. Tell me if I'm blocking the picture behind the words. It should be shown. It should be shown.